drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor early in the morning?
I just said, yes, ma'am, right away, anything.
All right, so dark spiced rum. This is going to be a 3-stage process. So let's get started with the dark part of the dark aged spiced rum. First things first, you need some rum. Now I'm using the pineapple rum that I made in a previous video. Link right up here if you haven't seen it. And this stuff is right now 56% ABV. Nice pineapple-y, spicy flavor because we had some chilies in there. Lots of good stuff going on in here, but you know, it's still a white rum. It could use something. The other thing you need is some backset from that first distillation when you made the rum. The backset, or stillage, needs to be clean, so collect some from the boiler after it cools down. And just to be clear, we're using fresh, uninfected stillage, not infected dunder. That's for another video. So this stuff smells like soy sauce, and it's really bitter. So it's kind of hard imagining that adding this to your rum is going to make it taste good. But chemistry is amazing. And when you add this to ethanol, you get this really rich molasses flavor, and it just kind of explodes. It's really cool. So now that you have your backset, it's a good idea to let it sit for about a week so that it drops clear. And then siphon that cleared backset off of anything that drops out, any sediment. If this is your first time working with backset, I recommend that you make an essence out of the backset. This is just 100 mils of the backset and 100 mils of rum, and mix those together. Simple. And it's a lot easier to use this to flavor your main batch, to really kind of dial those flavors in, than it is to add this straight. Because the last thing you want to do is add too much of this and ruin a completely good batch of white rum. So make some essence. And then once you have your essence, you do about 30 mils of this for every 750 mils of rum to get a gold rum. So 30 to 750 for gold, and then about 60 mils of your essence to every 750 mils of rum to make a dark rum. Fairly dark, not super dark. Full disclosure, this idea comes from a post on the homedistiller.org forum by Buccaneer Bob. He posted this thing years ago, so this is all him. Thanks, Bob. This stuff really works. And if you want a whole lot more granular detail on how to do this, go ahead and check out Jesse's video up here. He did a 3-video series on the Buccaneer Bob's rum. But after I got everything mixed together, I really didn't think that I got enough flavor and enough color using just the essence. So I tried adding a little bit more. It didn't boost the color or the flavor very much. So being the tinkerer that I am, I added some straight backset to my rum. If you try to add straight backset to your rum, I recommend that you do it in 5 and 10 milliliter increments. Just go slow, because you can go bitter really fast, and you know, you can always add a little bit more, but you can't take it out. So keep that in mind. Now, if you've ever had Kraken rum, this stuff that was originally in this cool bottle, that stuff is black, and I have no idea how they got that color, because I can't imagine adding more backset to get the color that they get in that rum without adversely affecting the flavor. So if you guys have theories on that, go ahead and post them in the comments down below, because I'd love to try it and see what I can do. So once you get the molasses and rummy character into your rum, you got to age it. You got to get some of that wood character in there too. So you can add some wood and slow age it for months if you have the time. That's always going to give you a much better flavor than trying quick aging. But I needed to get this video out, so I cheated and I did some quick aging. You could do hot and cold cycles by taking the lid off and sticking it in the microwave until you get it to about 120 degrees. It's usually like a minute and a half for jars this size. Then put the lid back on, stick it in the freezer. It's going to cause that spirit to push in and squeeze out of the wood over that heat and cold cycle. The other thing you could do is run it through an ultrasonic cleaner. And because I like to fiddle with shit, I did both of those things. As far as the wood that you're going to use, you can either use charred American white oak, brand new stuff, or you can take that wood and soak it in some bourbon and then use it, or if you have some charred American oak that's been sitting in bourbon and aging bourbon for months, that's going to give you something that's closer to what you'll actually find in a Jamaican rum, because that stuff is usually aged in used whiskey barrels. So it's going to have some of that bourbon or whiskey character to it along with the oaking. But the amount of color and the amount of flavor that you get takes a lot longer to get there. So I actually split the difference. I had some charred American oak that had been sitting in bourbon for 4 months, and then I had a brand new piece of charred American white oak, and I did both of them for my quick aging cycles. And that came out pretty darn good. I got a nice dark color, got some smoke, got some of the tannins, got some of the vanilla, that barrel candy, and that combination actually did really well. I'm happy with that. But feel free to try out different stuff, do whatever you want, play around with it. So now that we have our dark rum that has been aged, we gotta spice it. And to spice it, I'm using a teaspoon of vanilla extract, not vanilla flavoring. Or if you have vanilla beans, you can use a 2-inch long piece of vanilla bean, a chunk of fresh ginger, a few strips of orange peel, and make sure you just have the orange part, not the white part. 3 allspice berries, 1 whole clove, an 1/8 teaspoon of ground pepper, an 1/8 teaspoon of ground cardamom, half of a cinnamon stick, and 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. Don't worry, I'm going to put all this in the video description down below, so you don't have to try and memorize it. To get a little bit more flavor, I'm going to toast my spices. You take a dry saute pan on medium heat, toss your spices in, and toast them just until they get aromatic. And that's a critical point. If you ever toast spices, you want to go just until they get nice and fragrant. Any more than that and they'll start to burn, and if they burn, they get bitter. It just takes like between 30 seconds and a couple of minutes. Once you get that nice flush of aroma in your face, it's a good idea to just dump the spices out onto a paper plate or something so they don't continue to cook in that hot pan. Once you get that done, just throw everything together in a jar with your other flavorings and your rum. And you want to check on it about every 12 hours because the spices and the orange peel and everything, man, it can get overpowering really fast. So every 12 hours you need to go and take your jar, pop it open, have a little sniff, have a little taste, and see if it's where you want it. You may end up letting it go for 2 or 3 days, but check it every 12 hours so that you know how it's going. If you think it's got enough orange peel, but you want some of the other flavors, just take the orange peel out. But it's completely subjective. I can't tell you it takes exactly 48 hours or whatever, because, you know, it's exactly the same as seasoning your own food. I can't tell you how much salt you're gonna want on your steak. You've got to figure that out for yourself. Check on it, taste it, smell it, and once it hits the spot that's just right for you, all you got to do is strain it. And I just used a bandana and strained it through that, but if you have some cheesecloth or whatever, you just want to strain those spices, strain all that solid particulate out of your rum. And the last thing you can do, this is completely optional, I'm probably going to catch some crap for this, but you can actually take a tablespoon or 2 of molasses and add that to your rum just to get a little bit sweeter flavor. Personally, I like that, but I have friends that think that's disgusting, that would never want to do that. They just want the flavor of the rum. They don't want any sweetness to it. And I completely understand that. So again, very optional, 1 to 2 tablespoons if you want it. Between the spices, the possible molasses, and the backset, you may end up with a really cloudy product. I did. And if you do, don't freak out about it. Don't worry about it, because you can strain it through coffee filters 5 or 6 times and that'll get most of that stuff out. That'll really clear it up a lot. But if you're patient, it'll just drop out on its own. So this has been filtered 5 times, I think, through coffee filters, and it was pretty good after that filtering. But then it sat for a couple of weeks and it got really clear on its own. I don't know if you can see the particulate down in the bottom of that bottle. And if you want to, you can then siphon this off into a new clean vessel so that you don't have any chance of that mixing around when you pour it. So don't freak out, it'll clear up eventually. Before we get to the tasting, I just want to thank my Patreon supporters. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for sticking with me. For all the new Patreons that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks, thank you guys so much for joining the team. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to consider supporting my channel through Patreon, I'll put a link in the video description down below. All right, you ready? I am. There's so many spices going around in there, but I'm able to pick out the nutmeg and the cardamom and the cinnamon and the vanilla and the orange. I'm not picking up the pepper or the clove. That is good. You get a little bit of sharpness from the Backset. It's almost buttery. It's not like super slick on the tongue. It doesn't coat your mouth. Damn, that's good. And this is still 56%. Yeah, 56%, 55%, something like that. I'm definitely getting some oak, but it's not too strong. The sweetness from the molasses is really just kind of the tip of the tongue. Barely get it. And that orange gives a nice crisp kind of zing going through there too. Wow. That is really good. You know, a lot of people use spiced rum for mixing, put it in a rum and coke, or put it in other cocktails. This stuff, it is a cocktail. There's so much flavor going on. I don't know that I would mix this with anything. I don't usually pour tasting samples that large and then drink the whole thing on camera, but that was really tasty. But what I just made is so much better than Captain Morgan. Wait a second, I think I have some Captain Morgan. Hang on a second. I had to borrow this, I didn't have any. But so here's Captain Morgan spiced rum, and honestly it smells so candy sweet compared to what I made, but mine has straight molasses in it. It's very vanilla. It says spiced rum. I'm not really picking up a whole lot of spices. Birthday cakey. This is 35% ABV. Mine is 55% ABV, and it's almost as smooth as this. I know Captain Morgan spiced rum is not like the benchmark for great rum, but it is a commercial standard, and they sell a lot of it, so you know they're doing something right. But as far as the depth of flavor that you're gonna get when you spice your own rum is astronomically greater than buying stuff off the shelf, because you can custom tailor the spices that you use, how long you use them, all that. You have so many factors that you can, you know, adjust when you're making this. There's almost no comparison between what I made and what this is, because this doesn't resemble what is now in my head as being spiced rum. Yeah, make spiced rum. You will not regret it. And here's the thing. If this is what you love and you just want to recreate this, then just use vanilla bean. You know, don't add anything else. Just take your rum, get it to the darkness and the age level that you like, and then add vanilla bean and nothing else. You can tailor your spices exactly the way you want. What was your opinion of the Captain Morgan?
It smells like frosting.
It smells like frosting. Birthday cake vanilla?
Frosting.
Yeah. What was your impression of the stuff I made?
Alcoholic.
Alcoholic.
It's spicy, orangey,
Spicy,
sweet,
orangey, sweet.
but nothing like that.
Be prepared to get punched in the face with flavor. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything, do me a favor, hit the like button because it really helps out the channel. If you want to see what kind of weird stuff I'm going to do next time, hit the subscribe button down over here and the little bell icon right next to it so that you can get notified when I post new content. If you have any questions, comments, theories on how they make Kraken rum so dark looking, post those down in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Talk at you later.